ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 verse 18. Yasmat ksharam atito aham aksharat api cha uttamaha ato asmi loke vede cha prathitaha purushottamaha. Since I am transcendental to the fallible living entities and also superior to the other two infallible beings, Brahm and Paramatma, I am renowned both in this world and in the Vedas as Purushottam, the Supreme Person. So as you know, in these three verses, verse 16, 17 and 18, Shri Krishna is describing the essence of Vedanta Sutras. In Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra, the essence of Vedanta is given in the first canto, second chapter. And we have been discussing this particular verse from Srimad Bhagavatam from the last two times as well. Shri Gurudev quotes this in the commentary, Vadanti tat tattva vidaha tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdate. Those who know the absolute reality describe that ultimate non-dual substance as the supreme truth. That means there is no one else like him. He is the supreme and one and only one. Some know this same non-dual absolute truth as Brahm, some as Paramatma, and others as Bhagavan. So these are the three aspects of the Supreme Absolute Truth. In verse 16, Shri Krishna described the aspect of Brahm, which is the all-pervading effulgence, the transcendental effulgence. In the last verse, he described the aspect of the Supreme known as Paramatma or the Super Soul. And in this verse, he is describing the Bhagwan aspect of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And here he says that Bhagwan or that Supreme Absolute whose manifestation is the Brahm and the Paramatma, that Supreme is me, Shri Krishna. Arjun, I who am standing in front of you is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, I am transcendental to the living entities who are fallible, and I am also superior to the other two infallible entities that I have described in the last two verses. I am the Purushottam, the Supreme Person. This chapter is called Purushottam Yoga. And Krishna is here declaring that he is that Supreme Person. He is using the words Aham. Aham means I. He is not referring to anyone else. And this is accepted in all the scriptures. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained this very beautifully and elaborately in his commentary. So let's try to understand by reading what this great Acharya has written. He says that after explaining Paramatma, the worshipable object of the yogis, Sri Bhagwan describes Bhagavad Tattva, Tattva means the fundamental truth. So Bhagavad Tattva means the fundamental truth of the Supreme Lord. He who is the worshipable deity of the devotees. So what is that fundamental truth? Krishna is saying, I, Shri Krishna, am Bhagwan, and I am renowned as Purushottam. Uttam means the supermost, and Purush means the various persons. So among all the persons, he is the most supreme. He says, Krishna is saying that my Swarup, my transcendental form is superior to all other forms. Sri Bhagwan speaks this verse beginning with Yasmat to explain the term Purushottam and his supremacy. He clearly states that he is superior to every form. He is certainly superior to the fallible living entities who are prone to be covered by the illusory energy. But he is also superior to the impersonal Brahman and even to the immutable Paramatma. Krishna had described this at the end of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also. So as you know, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita describe the Gyan Yoga. But towards the conclusion, as we discussed last time, in the 46th verse of chapter 6, he told Arjun that the yogis are superior to the fruitive workers. Why? Because yogis worship Paramatma and they are superior to the worshippers of the impersonal aspect of the Supreme, as well as superior to the fruitive workers. So what that means, he said, yogis are superior to jnanis who worship the impersonal aspect, and they're also superior to the karmis who are the fruitive workers. Then the last verse of the 6th chapter, he said, yoginam api sarvesham mat gaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam sah me yukta tamo mataha. However, who constantly performs bhajan of me with full faith, his mind incessantly attached to me, is in my opinion the topmost of all yogis. So he basically said that even superior to the yogis is that devotee who worships me, my Bhagwan form, my form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is again an important point that we briefly discussed last time also. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur again explains that the superiority of the sadhaka or the practitioner establishes the superiority and speciality of the worshipable deity. Since Sri Krishna is the supreme manifestation of absolute reality, a person who worships him is the topmost yogi. So, if you are worshipping the highest aspect of the Supreme Absolute, then you are also the highest form of the practitioner of spirituality. This is what he's trying to explain. In this verse, Krishna uses the word cha. Cha means and. This word establishes that Shri Krishna, who is Swayam Bhagwan, that means he himself is the Supreme Lord. He is the topmost of all worshipable realities, superior even to Sri Narayan, the Lord of Vaikuntha. Now, how do we believe in this? Right? So from the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we have discussed this many times, that all the scriptures, they agree and establish that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all others are his manifestations. Once again, please understand this clearly, that there are not many gods. There is only one God. There cannot be many gods. But that one Supreme God manifests in many different forms. And we have discussed the reason for this also many times in the past. So that Supreme is Shri Krishna. Now, many quotations are given from the scriptures to establish this point. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, chapter 3, verse 28, Sri Suta Goswami says, Ete cha ansh kalaha punsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So he has described many incarnations of the Lord, and after describing all the incarnations, he says that some personalities are his portions or parts of his portions. But Sri Krishna alone is Swayam Bhagavan. Swayam means himself. So this word Swayam Bhagavan has only been used for Krishna and for no one else throughout the Vedic literature. So all others are Bhagavan, they are also lords. But Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan means he is the source of all of them. Someone has to be the source. And one who is the source, that personality is called Krishna. According to this statement of Sri Suta Goswami, Krishna is the supreme reality. So we have been discussing these three aspects of the supreme reality called the Brahm, Paramatma and Bhagwan. So although these three explain the one transcendental reality whose Sat, Chit and Anand, composed of eternality, knowledge and bliss, there is no difference in their true constitutional natures. So again, the point is they are one. There is no difference. But Bhagwan is the source of Brahm as well as Paramatma. Because if all three are independent of each other, that means there will be three absolute realities. And that is contradictory to the fact that there can be only one supreme. Just like in a country there can be only one president. There can be a vice president, there can be two vice presidents who derive their power from the president, but if there are two presidents, then there will be two authorities, and that will create a lot of problem. So again, there is one God who manifests in many different forms. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 6, chapter 9, the demigods are praying to the Supreme Lord to protect them from the ferocious demon Vritrasur. When the Lord appears, pleased by their prayers, then they again pray to him. And in that prayer, they say, Evam Atma Mayam Antardhaya Ko Anu Artha Durghat Iva Bhavati Swarup Dvaya Abhavat. Very important. They say Swarup Dvaya Abhavat. Dvaya means two, Swarup means forms, Abhavat means they cannot be. So this means that within you there are not two Swarups, there are not two forms. You are one, you are Advai Gyan Param Tattva. But you manifest in many forms. Yet due to the differences, so Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that then why do we see these differences? So he says, due to differences in sadhan and also in the results obtained by those who worship Brahm, Paramatma and Bhagwan, there seems to be disparity in that one transcendental reality. Gyan, Yog and Bhakti are the respective means by which the Gyanis, so those who pursue the path of knowledge, and then Yogis who perform different kind of meditations, and then Bhaktas who perform loving devotional service, they attain their particular goals. The Gyanis attain Brahm because they are cultivating the knowledge of formless, all-pervading Brahman. So they attain him. And yogis who are meditating on the super soul, they attain Paramatma. And the devotees attain Bhagwan, the Supreme Lord. In fact, the result of knowledge or Gyan and Yog is only to attain liberation. Whereas the result of Bhakti is to become a loving associate of Bhagwan. So liberation does not necessarily mean that you will attain your transcendental form, that you will attain the transcendental abode of the Lord. Because that desire is not there in the practitioner, the jnanis and the yogis. Krishna had stated earlier in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tan sathaiv bhajamiham, that the way someone worships me, with whatever goal that one worships, I also reciprocate accordingly. So, if a jnani is only wanting to merge in the Brahman or the Brahm Jyoti, that's what he attains. But a devotee is desiring to render loving devotional service unto the Lord, and that's why he attains his eternal abode. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, chapter 5, where Narad Rishi is instructing Srila Vyasadeva, he states that Naishkarmyam api achyut bhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kutaha punaha shashvat abhadram ishvare na charpitam karmayat api akaranam. Very important point to understand. He says that Brahm Gyan, spiritual knowledge, in the form of freedom from material affinity, does not appear very beautiful or auspicious when it is bereft of devotion to the Supreme Lord. So, any type of sadhan, any type of spiritual process, if it does not have an element of devotion to the Supreme Lord, if it is bereft of bhakti, then it actually is not pleasing, and then it is also not very auspicious. Again, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, where Lord Brahma is praying, he says, Purehe bhuman bahavo api yoginaha tvat arpite aha nij karma labdhaya vibuddhya bhaktya eva kathopanitaya prapedire anjaha achyutate gatim param. He says, O great personality, O Shri Krishna, in previous times the yogis of this world offered all their activities to your lotus feet, when by the processes of yoga and so forth, they were unable to achieve you. So when they were only performing different yogic activities, meditations, they were not able to achieve you. However, after doing so, they attained bhakti to you, by which they realized your eternal form and very easily attained your supreme abode. So again, that means that simply by performing meditation or cultivating knowledge, one cannot attain the Supreme Lord unless one engages in bhakti. Bhakti is supremely independent. It is not dependent on karma, jnana or yoga to give its result. But the other way it is not true. That means the yogic process and the jnana or the karma yoga, every other process, Sankhya yoga, it cannot give results unless there is an element of bhakti in the process. So Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that from these statements it is understood that without bhakti one cannot attain liberation by the process of jnana and yoga. It is imperative for the worshippers of Brahm and Paramatma to perform bhakti to the Supreme Person in order for them to achieve perfection in their respective practices. But there is no need for the worshippers of Bhagwan to worship Brahman or Paramatma to attain perfection in their goal, because when they are worshipping Bhagwan, within him there is Brahm and Paramatma also. Just like if you have $1,000, that means you have $100, you have $500, right? But if you have only $100, then to get to 1,000, you need to make an additional effort. So similarly, those who just worship Brahman, they do not attain the supreme liberation or the abode of the Lord unless they perform bhakti. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, chapter 20, verse 31, Shri Krishna states, and he is speaking to Arjun, where he says, तस्मान मत भक्ति युक्तस्य योगिनोः वै मत आत्मनः na jnanam na cha vairagyam prayah shreya bhavet iha. He says that for a person in this world who is engaged in bhakti yoga to me, the processes of knowledge and renunciation are not considered the means to attain the highest perfection. That means those who are performing bhakti, for them it is not important to take shelter of any other process. It's not important or even recommended for them to do anything else, any other form of sadhan. Krishna continues saying, Yat karma bhi yat tapasa jnanam vairagyatah cha yat yogen dan dharmen shreyobhi itarahi api. That whatever result one attains by such processes as prescribed duties, knowledge, austerity and renunciation, my devotees can easily attain by the process of bhakti. Be that result attainment of the heavenly planets, liberation, my abode of Vaikuntha, or anything else they desire. That means they don't have to follow any other process to attain any kind of result. Simply by bhakti they will get everything. Sarvam mat bhakti yogena mat bhakta labhate anjasa swarg apavargam mat dham katham chit yadi vanchati. Person who takes shelter of Sri Narayan achieves 4 goals of human life: religiosity, material prosperity, material sense enjoyment and liberation, without performing separate practices to achieve them. So, of course, a devotee of the Lord does not aspire for these things. He only aspires for loving devotional service of the Lord. But the point is that he does not have to do anything else. By simple one-pointed loving devotional service of the Lord, he attains everything. So therefore, why should we wander here and there? Why should we divide our attention? When the scriptures are saying that become one-pointed, Krishna is saying sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja, that give up all other forms of religion and just surrender unto me, that I will completely take care of you and free you from all kind of sinful reactions. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states further that it is seen that by the worship of Bhagwan one can achieve residence in the heavenly planets, liberation or love of God. But by the worship of Brahm and Paramatma one cannot attain prem. Even though Brahm and Paramatma do not differ from Bhagwan on the basis of Tattva or the fundamental truth, still Bhagwan is considered superior. So hopefully by this time you understand this point, that they are same, all these 3 aspects are the same, but Bhagwan is the basis and therefore superior to Brahm and Paramatma. Again, the same example that I have given before. The sunlight is important, the sun globe is important, but the sun god, he is the most important, because everything else is emanating from him. Then he gives a very beautiful example in the commentary. He states that a flame, a lamp and a big fire are all luminous objects and thus non-different in nature. Yet, to remove the miseries of those suffering from cold, the large fire is the most effective, right? So if you just have a flame or a lamp and it is bitterly cold and you are outside, they will not give you enough heat to protect you from that cold. But if there's a big fire, bonfire, then you will get the warmth to protect yourself from that bitter cold. And superior to the blazing fire is the sun. So if the sun comes out and shines very brightly, then all the cold will go away. So similarly, Bhagwan Shri Krishna is the topmost absolute reality. Liberation in the form of Nirvana or merging with Brahm, the effulgence emanating from Krishna's form, is attained by perfectly worshipping Brahm. Shri Krishna even grants this to those who are envious of him and who are highly sinful, such as Aghasur, Bakasur and Jarasandh. Another great commentator on Bhagavad Gita is Madhusudan Saraswati, and he has also established the supremacy of Shri Krishna as follows. The sadhakas or the practitioners who want to initiate their eternal good fortune should constantly perform worship of Sri Krishna Chandra, whose form is described in the Shrutis as composed of eternality, cognizance and bliss, whose complexion is the hue of fresh rain clouds, who is the very ornament of the Braj gopis, who is the means by which intelligent people can cross over the ocean of the material world, and whose incarnations perform pastimes to remove the burden of the earth. I do not know any other reality superior to lotus-eyed Sri Krishna, who has a face like a full moon, who is adorned with a flute in his hands, who wears yellow garments, and whose lips are reddish like a bimba fruit. Various scriptures give evidence of the wonderful glories of Sri Krishna. Those who cannot tolerate this are fools and destined for hell. Again, he's basically trying to say that let us believe in what the scriptures are saying, what Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, what Krishna himself is saying in this verse, that I am Purushottama, I am that supreme person. After hearing all of this also, if you do not surrender unto him, then, well, what can be done? We will continue to stay confused and keep wandering. But we have that opportunity to become one-pointed, and then why not do that? Srila Gurudev explains further in the commentary that by devotion that is filled with reverence for Bhagwan's majestic feature, devotees realize him as Sri Narayan, the Lord of Vaikuntha, and render service to him. So now he is describing that even bhakti is of two types. One, where there is awe and reverence, this is called Vaidhi Bhakti. And by pure loving devotional, imbued with a mood of sweetness, or worship in the wake of the moods of Vraj, devotees realize and serve him as Swayam Bhagwan, Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar. So this bhakti is called Madhurya Bhakti or Raganuga Bhakti, where one follows in the footsteps or follows the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, and there is no awe and reverence because the love is so deep that one forgets that Krishna is the Supreme. Realization of Brahm, Paramatma and Bhagwan is not one and the same. There is gradation. By constitutional nature, water, ice and mist are one. They are all three are water. Yet water is not called ice or mist, nor is ice called mist or water. In the same way, Swayam Bhagwan Shri Krishna is the pinnacle of Par Tattva. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, Mattaha partaram na kinchit asti dhananjaya. O Arjun, there is no other superior tattva, no other superior truth beyond me. So there is nothing beyond me. So he is the pinnacle of supreme absolute truth. The first realization of that Paratattva is Brahm, the second realization is Paramatma, and the third is Swayam Bhagwan. These three perceptions are not the same. Therefore, scriptures describe Parabram as superior to Brahm. So therefore, there are two words, Brahm and Parabram. Parabram means who is superior to Brahm. This has been very clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita in the 14th chapter, verse 27, the previous chapter, where Krishna had stated, Brahmano hi pratishtha aham, that I am the basis of the Brahm. This is true because I alone am the basis and refuge of that undifferentiated impersonal Brahm. The use of the adjective Param before Brahm and also before Atma establishes the superiority of Parabram and Paramatma over Brahm and Atma respectively. But the adjective Param is never used before the word Bhagwan. So we use the words like Parabram and Paramatma, but we may say Param Bhagwan because Swayam Bhagwan alone is the topmost limit of Paratattva. Paramatma and Brahm are just his two manifestations. The bodily effulgence of Krishna is called Brahm and the portion of his portion is called Paramatma. In Brahm Samhita, Lord Brahma also says, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchit Anand Vigraha Anadiradi Govindaha Sarvakaran Karana, that Krishna is the supreme Lord and the cause of all causes. He is the source of everything. In his commentary on this verse of Brahm Samhita, Sripad Jiva Goswami has given an extensive explanation as well as evidence from various scriptures. We will very briefly discuss a couple of points from his commentary where he establishes the supremacy of Sri Krishna. He states that in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, verse 29, chapter 29, verse 49, the supremacy of Sri Krishna and his status as the origin of everything are both mentioned. Purusham Rishabham Adyam Krishna Sangyam Nato Asmi. I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna, who is the origin of all, the eternal and supreme personality. He is the origin because he is the source of all incarnations, and though he is beginningless. In the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, in verse 21, it is said, Eko Vashi Sarva Gaha Krishna Idyaha. Swayam Bhagwan Shri Krishna is he who is one without a second, who controls everyone, who can go anywhere, who is omnipotent, who knows everything, and who is worshipable by all. In the Upanishads, it is also said, Nityo Nityanam, there is one supreme eternal among all eternals. It is also stated in Lord Brahma's prayer in the 10th canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says, Narayano Angaha Narayanaha Bhuj Jalayanat. O Krishna, you are the origin of Narayan. Nar means the collective group of living entities, and Ayan means you are the shelter. Bhu means the shelter of all the worlds, and Sakshi means one who knows past, present and future. Narayan is your part and parcel. He is one of your pastime expansions, Vilas Murti. Like this, Sripad Jiva Goswami gives many evidences from the scriptures. If you are inspired, please read his detailed commentary on this verse of Brahm Samhita. So let us all worship Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Purushottam is Shri Krishna himself, and he is clearly stating that in this verse 18th of chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Have a very blessed day.